we've got just one class to go. It's 1A, and we're going to get into them. We're going to talk a little bit more here about the Class 1A. Before we kick off, we're going to say what we do in a lot of our previews. You know your team, your area better than us, so if we missed something, feel free to drop that in the comment section down below. Give us your thoughts, anything you thought, hey, you guys missed this or you got this wrong. Please let us know because there are a lot of schools to cover. Thank goodness for things like Indiana Football Digest, John Harrell, and Max Preps. That's pretty much where I lived this past weekend, getting all the lowdown on all the teams. So, biggest storyline, can Indianapolis Lutheran complete the three-peat? Like we talked about with Center Grove, the Saints have gotten into it's them until it isn't territory. Back-to-back 1A titles, 3 state finals appearances in the last 4 years. Not only that, Dave Pash's squad has not lost a game since 2020. Back-to-back 15-0 seasons. This while consistently playing above their class. No 1A opponents on the 2023 regular season schedule. The preseason 1A school, they finished number 1 in 1A last year, finished 22 with the best offense in the state as well as the top 10 defense, finished number 20 in the state overall according to Max Prep. So when you have a 1A school that's in the top 20 in the state, you know you're dealing with the real deal. There's no real reason to think that the Saints won't keep marching on in 2023.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on this with Lutheran. Very much, it's kind of like a bookend storylines for us when we look at Lutheran and then we look at Center Grove and 6A. Both of these schools have been the poster child of long-term success or consistent success, and Lutheran is essentially, I look at them as kind of like the Center Grove of 1A. They're a very tough team. They consistently have some of the best defenses, offenses in the entire state. They're just very, very tough across the board. So can they keep up that success? Can they bring home another state title? It'll be fun to watch them this year.
Well, if they do, they're going to go through the toughest sectional because I have sectional 47 as my sectional. There's going to be a sectional to watch, toughest sectional. We're going to be talking a lot about Lutheran in this 1A preview, because this is Indianapolis Lutheran sectional 47. Also, it's where IFD's preseason number 5 team, Covenant Christian, where they reside. Covenant won the 1A title in 2020, finished the 2022 season ranked in both the AP and coaches poll, boasted a top 10 offense in 1A as well last season. So, in other words, this sectional is home to the last 3. Excuse me. is home. So in other words, this sectional is home to the last 3 1A's champions, 2 preseason top 5 teams, and 2 top 10 offenses from a year ago. So I'd say that would be what constitutes a tough sectional is teams that have been kind of the classes of 1A for the last few years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a tough battle. I wish, this is one of those that I wish they did not, that Lutheran and Covenant Christian did not play in the same sectional, because I'll still stick with what I'm going to say later. But yeah, 2 of the better teams in 1A. You love to see it. Actually, at the same time, you also hate to see it happen so early. You want to see these things happen in semi-state or for a state championship. But it's going to be a battle regardless. It'll be a fun one to watch, and it's a good Central Indiana one.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. You got some tough sectionals there. And sectional 47 is definitely going to be one of them. Yet again, player to watch for 1A. I'm going with Lutheran junior quarterback Jackson Willis. He was the state's leading passer in both yards and touchdowns in 2022, by like a lot. By a pretty large margin. He threw for nearly 4,000 yards, which was nearly 1,000 in front of second place. 51 touchdowns, which is 14 more than second. Now, it says he had 55 touchdowns on Max Preps, but I think Lutheran also had 2 games logged, or a game logged twice. So I kind of did a little adjusting there. But still, 5 games of 300 plus yards passing, 12 games of 3 touchdowns or more, 9 of 4 touchdowns or more, 4 games with 5 or more touchdowns, and a 6 touchdown game against Cascade. This was all as a sophomore, taking the spotlight as the quarterback for the best team in 1A, and that's how he responded. So didn't let the bright lights get to him. Didn't say, okay, you know what, I'm allowed to have some growing pains. He stepped right in and really took charge, which makes me think that there's even more greatness headed Willis's way. So I think he's going to be a player to watch for 2023.
Sticking with Lutheran, I am actually going with one of Jackson Lewis's top targets. That's the 5'9", 160-pound junior wide receiver, Devon Jones. Look, when you have that kind of connection with one of the state's top passers, you're going to automatically be one of the state's top pass catchers. Last year, he caught 54 passes for 922 yards and 12 touchdowns. He also ran for 107 yards and averaged 42.1 yards on 8 kickoff returns. I mean, this is if you want to see an offense catch fire, or you want to see, fireworks, this kid brings the boom to the fireworks show. As far as the offense goes, I'm really excited to see this tandem of Jackson Willis and Devon Jones again this season. And they're going to go a long way. They're definitely going to go a long way and put Lutheran right back in a great spot to be state champions yet again.
So getting into that topic here, our final dark horse and final champion for the night. Dark horse for 1A for me, I'm going with Sheridan. They're IFD's preseason number 3 for 1A. They finished top 10 in the AP poll, top 5 in the coaches poll last season. They have 15 starters returning from a squad that in 2022 went 11-2, won sectional 45, finished top 10 in the class offensively, 41 points per game, and finished 9th in the class defensively, allowing 15 points per game. So the Blackhawks are a team that if they can replicate what they did a year ago, they'll be pretty scary. So I think Sheridan's going to be a team to watch for sure. But as far as my state champion goes, we can't look any other place than Indianapolis Lutheran. We talked about the Saints being a top team both at the state and class level. Preseason number 1, finished number 1 in 2022, finished 20th in the state according to Max Preps. Top offense, top 10 defense in the state. We talked about Jackson Willis, all his accolades. Second leading receiver from a year ago, like you talked about, Devon Jones. He's back, over 900 yards, 12 touchdowns. Leading tackler Johnny Hall is back, 111 tackles in 2022. LJ Ward, who had 5 interceptions, he's back as well. And look, I get it. 4 of my 6 state champions have been repeat champions as far as what I've picked. But this might be the one that I'm most confident in, is Lutheran going back to back to back. That's just how good they've been. Both last year and the year prior. So Lutheran, in my opinion, they go all the way and win again.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Sheridan pick. That was who I was going with as well. My secondary option was Covenant Christian. But Sheridan, they have that history as well. If you haven't noticed, I really like the history of programs. And for the longest time, Sheridan was the end-all, be-all of this class. Just they bred football up in that area. And if you're driving into Sheridan, you see it on their "Welcome to Sheridan" town sign. They're very proud of their football history. Unfortunately for Sheridan, they've been kind of down recently. Last year was a really good season for them, but they want to get back to that level of where they're hoisting that state championship trophy. And when they come into a season, you go, oh, it's Sheridan and then everybody else. So I would love to see Sheridan get back there. Definitely a dark horse. Another, like I said, Covenant Christian's another one to kind of watch out for. But Sheridan's definitely a great pick. And again, with the state championship, it's got to be Lutheran. I don't know who else you could pick, really, especially with what Lutheran has returning and just how dominant they have been the past several seasons. It's hard to really pick against them. You know, it's one of those, like you said earlier, you know, I'm going to pick against somebody because somebody else has got to win eventually. But then it's just like, well, I'm getting my pick wrong
Right. Yeah.
consistently, and I don't want to be wrong, and I want to see somebody else win eventually. But yeah, Lutheran's just too good.
They really are.
I don't know if I would say that is my my most confident pick. I still think Center Grove is my most confident pick.
Yeah, I think because I think I still like I think Center Grove will win. I would like right now. There's not a team that I can say like that. I mean, yes, if Sheridan won like that, like obviously I would be like, okay, well that was my preseason dark horse. But there's not a team at 1A right now that if they want like I expect them to win or would not be surprised if they won, if that makes sense. So like I would be surprised if Covenant Christian won. I'd be surprised if Sheridan won. If Center Grove didn't win, I wouldn't be surprised. Just like if East Central didn't win, I wouldn't be surprised. Now I'm certainly Valpo, that was a toss up for me. But like I like those are the teams like that I picked as repeats that I was like, you know what? There's other teams in those classes that I'd be like, okay, you know what? It kind of makes sense that this team beat East Central or this team beat Center Grove. Like if you told me Cathedral won the 6A title this year, I wouldn't be surprised. If you told me Westfield or Westfield might be a little surprising just because they haven't been that far, but Carmel or Warren Central, like you said, like if they won, you wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, that was a come from nowhere thing. Like, whereas if a team came and beat 1A with all of what Lutheran has done the last few years and with all they have coming back, like I would be super surprised if a team came up and beat them. So that's why I said they're my most confident, just because. Now, granted, I mean they're all close. It's not like I think like leaps and bounds more with Lutheran in 1A than I do in Center Grove in 6A. But I think of those four, I'm most confident in picking Lutheran just because I would be surprised immensely if a team beat them in 1A. Now, granted, play the sound clip again at the end of the year when I'm ultimately wrong because it's the crash kiss of death, and I'll play this thing on repeat where I was like, there's nobody that can beat Lutheran in 1A, and they lose in the sectional or something, but you can play that clip on repeat. But but like I said, I think of those four, that's the one I'm like, okay, you know what? No one's beating them in my opinion. Whereas at 6A, I'd be like, okay, you know what? Center Grove is my team that I think will win. I don't think there's a team that knocks them off, but I'm not going to be surprised if someone does, if that makes sense.
Yeah.